th- that's a good background, man. You don't hear many people just saying, "Yeah, you're on the run," and escaped slave that's on the run, and you're just trying to you value freedom. I mean, that's your driving force right there. That doesn't even you can obviously you can be a good rogue. You value freedom because you know what the other side looks like, and you just take that and build on that aspect alone. That can be your driving force. Like when you see oppression happening, you're gonna feel the weight of that more than most, and that could be something to build your character upon too. What motivates you is that you maintaining freedom, and when you see people that aren't free, it affects you. You can go so far. All you have to do is look at a lot of that. You can look at as Robin Hood. Robin Hood has a lot of that aspect to him. Rob from the rich, give to the poor. He wanted to help the oppressed. So Robin Hood's a source of inspiration for that character. Oh, my pleasure, man. Yeah, and you could take it. That's just one. That's just one aspect of it, and I mean, there could be a million different things that affected you. It's just a matter of once you start getting used to too. Once you start engaging your imagination, you're going to start. It's going to start just churning and churning and churning and churning. And then you're going to become an insomniac and never ever sleep again, because you're going to always want to have these ideas and jot them down, and I could do that, I could do that. No, it doesn't get that bad, hopefully. But yeah, if you want to be a good rogue, that's definitely something that would stick in your throat, and that would just make you like. You might see bullying as I mean, you're not going to always go hostile, but you might stand up for the underdog. Excellent. Taken from your parents by someone who had a debt. Are you playing like in the Forgotten Realms? Or is it a homebrew world? Or a different world altogether? Is he like doing a published module or like a book? Eberron. Is that where the game world? If he's reading from that's probably his game world then. Let me check something real quick. Elves were slaves. At one point in Eberron's history, elves were slaves of the ancient giants of Xendrix. I'll type that. After the rebellion, they splintered into 3 distinct tribes. Are you elf? Are you elven? What's your character's race? You're human. So, severing its ties off the card, scattering and enslaving its people. Then over generations, these refugees became the elves. So either yeah, well, trying to figure out who would sell humans, but it might not even just be sell. It could be some evil cult or sect or faction that that's something you would have to discuss. Probably try to figure out with your dungeon master, like what evil factions in the world would take slaves. At one point, the giants used to keep elves as slaves, but that was ancient history. I don't know if that's something that is still present in some fashion. He could incorporate that in somewhere. But it's also the DM's job to work with you on that. So don't think you have to come up with it. You want to work on it, but he needs to give you a little bit of information to work with as well. So I would just say, and if it's not slavery, it could be if slavery is something he didn't want, it could be indentured servitude as well, because you mentioned it was a debt, so it could be it could be something even more malevolent than that too. It could be something that you didn't know. They didn't know. They didn't know that you were being. Maybe your parents didn't even know that they were being sold and you were being sent into slavery. Maybe they thought that something else was happening, or maybe it was a cult that kidnapped you. And they were intending different things for you, and in the meantime, while you were growing up, you had to serve them until you reached an age that they were ready to convert you or indoctrinate you. I don't know how old. Yeah, if they were, like cultists impersonating military, maybe where you came from, it was common for the military, or maybe you'd have to come up with a story. You'd have to still, it would be something that you had to work with your DM about, to figure out how that kind of fits in. Because there would have to be whatever faction that is. If they were taking you in the military, let's say that they were taking you into military service, that would have to be something that's established that your parents would have entrusted with officials to do. So they would have had to have that trust established already. Whereas if these people impersonating soldiers came in to take you into military service to train you, that your parents would still be willing or knowingly allowing that to happen. Or maybe they didn't. Maybe they fought back and they lost their lives as a result, but that's what you were told. Remember, you don't necessarily have to know the truth about you either. A lot of that stuff, you could just drop that hint for the DM and it could be up to him to explore that. What was the real reason why you were taken? And what really happened to your parents? Because remember, the DM does have the ability to alter any of that, any or all of that, without your knowledge, and that would really spin your character for a loop, and you. It would be a cool twist of events that you tell them things, and then you learn the truth is something different than you always thought. But that being said, that's all very... See, man? You got this. If you bounce this off, and you can bounce this off your DM just like you bounced it off me, and then he's going to have more knowledge of the game world. He's going to be able to incorporate it in and come up with some ideas with you too. But you can even leave it like that too. This is your character's belief that he was told it would have to depend too how you were raised and what you escaped from. And what you learned about, because it depends also how young you were when you were taken. If you were of an age that you were easily, like if you were too young, you'd be easily indoctrinated, easily molded and corrupted. But if you were too old, you would probably have to be at that in-between age where the truth and, where reality and what people tell you kind of become blurred, and it always leaves these, it always left more questions than answers. Yeah, you wanted to believe them until some event happened, something happened that you had to leave at some point. You had to make your escape. Cool stuff, man. Ah, you got this. You could that's the thing. So how we're kind of bouncing off. You can still bounce these ideas off yourself and off your DM and off other people too. And that is kind of what it's all about too. doing all this stuff, the backgrounds. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can leave it just as that, and let the DM, because you won't know. Your character doesn't know what really happened then. Leave that up to your DM. Maybe you knew that. Maybe that's what you were always told, but you found out otherwise somehow. And leave everything else up. Maybe you overheard the people that are in control of wherever you were. You heard them talking, and they didn't know you were there, or didn't know you were listening. And then just leave the reality of it up to the DM. All you know Yep. Yeah, you could even something you heard some truth that they've been lying to you this whole time. So it shook you to your core. So yeah, you snuck away and found the village possibly, and found out all those stories were not true. But at that point you wouldn't even know your parents' names. So you've got there's a lot of threads there a lot of paths that you could go down, a lot of forks that you could delve down. Almost all of that you want to leave up. You got to leave a lot up to the DM. You might know the village. Yeah, if they didn't tell you, but that could have been one of the truths that you overheard. Some of that you can figure out and pinpoint. This is definitely something. All this stuff is stuff that you definitely want to talk with your DM about, and let him tell you when to stop. Okay, that's good enough. I got the rest of this. This is what you know. And I won't tell you any of the rest. Now, hopefully, if he's a good DM, and obviously if you're working on backstory, he must have dropped these, planted these seeds in you. Because if that was your first session, he wanted you to figure out backstory, then yeah, if he's a good DM, he will incorporate it in. It might not be in week 2 or week 3 or week 4. You might not find out, or you might not get some of the stuff, some of the story dropped on you until week 10 or 12, but when you least expect it, then you'll know that he's been working on that stuff. Yeah, see, man, even Reborn, just kind of doing this back and forth is fun, man. Doing that, trying to figure out, trying to connect those threads, connect those dots, is just as much fun as playing the game sometime. Some of the best like stuff. I don't know if you did a session 0 or if you came into the campaign after it already started, but session 0, you kind of, what I like to do during session 0 is really hash out how the characters in the party came to become to know how they learned about each other, how they knew each other, how they met. I try to get those things out of the way first, so they don't become distractions later or sources of conflict later when they don't necessarily have any real place in the game other than to serve as a distraction. Natural stuff can just flow, right, during the course of a game or of a session. Natural conflict, but when some of that stuff you kind of, when you sit down at a table to play, you kind of enter in a social contract with all the players at your table. We're all in this together to play this game together. That's the meta of it. The DM is the boss. He knows the story, and you're sitting down with these people to try to find the common goals to solve the quests and complete and become victorious in the campaign. You're the ones trying to do that together. So anytime you like sit down and purposefully have long drawn out conflicts, it kind of detracts from the game. The whole nature of the game, because ultimately you're working together, and when you start like working in contrast with the party's overall goal, it can be, if the DM has a hard time with that or doesn't have a lot of experience, that could be really, really detrimental to a campaign. So that always that meta part of it, where you know you're playing a character and you know your character is trying to accomplish things with these other characters. It's always an important piece of meta to hold on to, and to, you know, you're all working together to share the story together, not trying to undermine anybody there. It'll all come with practice. You'll learn to, to get around. Writing is just practice. And once you start learning a lot of this, even just the imagination part, like you said, man, some of the role-playing part and the imagination part, this is all new to you. Once you start going down this path, it'll start opening up other avenues of your talents and stuff. You might not be a good writer now, but that doesn't mean you won't be able to put down your thoughts and ideas and stuff, and then eventually the more and more you do that, the better you get at communicating it. If you have to pretend like you're having a conversation with someone, and whatever you say, write it down. and stuff that you want to be, stuff you want to excel at, and stuff you want to explore, and they're going to be, some things are going to be hard. The best things in life should be a little bit, there should be some, should require some effort and some learning and some, stubbing your toe and getting a cut and falling down. All these things will, you were fine just typing out that stuff to me. So you're already better than you think. You're conveying your thoughts and your imagination just fine. Just pretend that's, your audience is whoever's sitting across from you. And when you're writing, your audience is whoever's sitting across from you, and that's the story you want to tell, or the ideas you want to exchange. And it'll all kick right in. Also, the other thing that helps with writing is reading. Pick up some fantasy novels and give it a go. Okay, where are we at? So the world I'm working on here, give you an idea of what I'm doing. I'm creating an entire, I like world building as well as role playing in general. So what we've got going on here, think newly discovered frontier America, circa early to mid, probably mid 1600s, so 17th century. America was just starting to be settled along the coast. Yeah, I got my hey Matt. I got my stream fixed. It's all good now, man. I relocated my computer next to my modem. I'm running at 5,000 bit. I got excellent bit rate. Want to start figuring out. I try to do video. Yeah, man, it's running great right now.